The plate shattered against the wall, just inches from Mia's head. Ceramic shards exploded across the grimy diner floor, and the laughter that followed was even sharper than the broken pieces. "Watch where you're going, orphan girl," Dale Hutchins bellowed from his corner booth, his massive gut shaking as he slapped the table. "That's the third time this week you've messed up our orders." Mia stood frozen, her hands still gripping the serving tray. She was 23 years old, but in that moment, she felt as small as she had at 8 when the social worker first told her that her parents were never coming back. Her dark hair fell across her face, hiding the flash of something dangerous in her eyes, something that none of these small-town bullies would ever expect to see in a quiet waitress. "I'm sorry," she whispered, bending down to collect the broken pieces. Her voice was so soft that the regulars had to strain to hear it, which only made them laugh harder. "Sorry doesn't fix my dinner, does it?" Dale continued, encouraged by the snickers from his buddies. "Maybe you should go back to whatever hole you crawled out of. We don't need charity cases serving us food." The Pine Ridge Diner had been Mia's sanctuary for exactly 3 months. 3 months since she'd arrived in this forgotten town with nothing but a duffel bag and a fake identity. 3 months of keeping her head down, her mouth shut, and her past buried so deep that not even she wanted to dig it up. The job at the diner paid just enough for the rat-infested studio apartment above the laundromat. The work was mindless enough that she could lose herself in the rhythm of pouring coffee and wiping down tables. But sanctuary, Mia had learned, was always temporary. "Leave her alone, Dale," came a tired voice from behind the counter. Betty, the diner's owner, was 60 years old and had seen enough of life to know when to intervene. But her intervention was half-hearted at best. Business was business, and Dale Hutchins and his crew spent good money at the Pine Ridge. "Mia, just get back to work." Mia nodded, dumping the broken ceramic into the trash. As she turned back to the kitchen, she caught her reflection in the chrome napkin dispenser. Hollow eyes stared back at her, eyes that had seen too much for someone so young, eyes that remembered the sound of gunfire and the smell of blood, eyes that watched her father, the notorious Antonio Ricci, die in a hail of bullets on a rainy Tuesday night. She pushed the memory away and grabbed a fresh pot of coffee. The diner's door chimed as another customer walked in, then another, then another. The laughter died. Mia looked up from the coffee pot and felt her blood turn to ice. 6 men had entered the Pine Ridge Diner, but they weren't men in the way that Dale and his buddies were men. These were predators. Leather jackets marked with patches that told stories of violence and loyalty. Boots that had kicked in doors and crushed bones. Faces that wore scars like medals. The leader was a mountain of a man named Rex, 6'5", 200 pounds of muscle and menace. His beard was streaked with gray, but his eyes were young and alert, constantly scanning for threats. A serpent tattoo coiled up his neck and disappeared into his hairline. His leather vest displayed patches from chapters all across the country, chapters that answered to only one family, the Ricci family. "We're closed," Betty said, her voice cracking. She'd heard stories about bikers. Everyone in small-town America had heard the stories. "No, you're not," Rex replied. His voice was surprisingly soft for such a large man, but it carried weight, the kind of weight that made smart people shut up and listen. "We're looking for someone." Dale, who moments ago had been the loudest voice in the room, suddenly found his coffee fascinating. The other regulars stared at their plates. Only Mia remained standing, the coffee pot still in her hand, trying to calculate her odds of making it to the back exit before they noticed her. 0, she realized. Her odds were 0. "Listen, we don't want any trouble," Betty stammered. "We're just a small diner. We don't know anything about—" "We're looking for our queen," Rex interrupted, his eyes finally landing on Mia. Recognition flickered across his scarred face. "And it looks like we found her." The coffee pot slipped from Mia's fingers and shattered on the floor, adding to the mess of broken ceramic that Dale had created. But unlike Dale's plate, no one laughed. "I don't know what you're talking about," Mia said, but even she could hear the lie in her voice. 3 months. She'd managed to hide for 3 months. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Maria Lucia Ricci, Rex said, and the name hit Mia like a physical blow. Daughter of Antonio Ricci, heir to the Ricci Empire. You really thought you could disappear? The diner erupted in shocked whispers. Dale's face had gone pale, his earlier bravado completely evaporated. Betty backed away from the counter, her hand reaching for the phone. "Don't," one of Rex's men said, noticing Betty's movement. "This doesn't concern you. This is family business." "I'm not part of that family anymore," Mia said, finding her voice. The quiet waitress was gone, replaced by something harder, something that had been forged in the fires of her father's world. "My father's dead. That life is dead. I left." "You can't just leave," Rex said, stepping closer. "Your father made arrangements. Before he died, he gave us orders. We protect you. That's our job. That's our honor." "I don't need protection." "Yes, you do." Rex's expression darkened. "The Moretti family is looking for you. They want revenge for what your father did to them. They've already killed 3 of your father's lieutenants. You're next on the list." The Moretti name sent a chill through Mia's entire body. The Morettis were the reason her father was dead. The rival family had been at war with the Riccis for decades, a blood feud that had claimed countless lives. Mia had naively thought that by disappearing, by becoming nobody, she could escape that war. She was wrong. "If you're here, then they know where I am," Mia said quietly. "You led them right to me." Rex shook his head. "We were careful, but they have resources. They have people everywhere. It's only a matter of time before they find you, with or without us. The question is, do you want to be alone when they do?" If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more dramatic tales. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think will happen next. The standoff lasted for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Mia's mind raced through possibilities, through scenarios, through the training her father had forced on her since she was old enough to hold a gun. She hated that training. She hated everything about her father's world. But now, standing in a dingy diner with bikers and terrified regulars, she realized that hatred didn't matter. Survival mattered. "How many?" she asked. Rex understood immediately. "Moretti has 40 men in his crew, maybe 50. He's been recruiting since your father died. He wants to take over the entire territory." "And you have 12 loyal to your father's memory. 12 who will die before they let Moretti touch you." 12 against 50. Terrible odds. But Mia had been raised in a world where odds meant nothing. Her father had once told her that one person with conviction was worth 10 without it. "We need to leave," Rex said. "Now. If we're here, they could be minutes behind us." As if on cue, the diner's windows exploded inward. Glass rained down as gunfire erupted from the parking lot. Dale screamed, actually screamed, and dove under his table. Betty hit the floor. The regulars scattered like cockroaches when the lights came on. But Rex and his men moved with practiced precision. 2 of them flipped tables for cover. 3 more drew weapons from beneath their leather jackets. Rex himself grabbed Mia and pulled her down behind the counter as bullets chewed through the diner's cheap wooden walls. "How many?" Mia shouted over the gunfire. 6 outside, one of Rex's men called out. 2 SUVs. They've got automatic weapons. Rex pulled out a massive revolver, the kind of gun that looked like it belonged in a Western movie. "We need to move. Back exit. Now." But Mia wasn't moving. She was staring at the chrome napkin dispenser on the counter, now riddled with bullet holes. She could see the reflection of the chaos behind her, terrified civilians, loyal bikers, and somewhere out in that parking lot, men who wanted her dead. And in that reflection, she saw herself. Not Mia the waitress, not the orphan girl who served coffee and took abuse from small-town bullies. Maria Lucia Ricci, daughter of Antonio, the Mafia queen. "Give me a gun," she said. Rex looked at her with surprise, then something like respect. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a Beretta 9.2, the same model her father had taught her to shoot when she was 14. "You remember how to use this?" Mia checked the magazine, chambered around, and flicked off the safety in one smooth motion. Muscle memory. The gunfire outside had paused. In the sudden silence, Mia could hear the attackers reloading, repositioning. They thought they had the advantage. They thought they were hunting a scared girl and a handful of bikers. They were wrong. "On my signal," Rex said to his men. "Mia goes out the back. We cover her retreat." "No," Mia said firmly. "We fight together or we die together. Those are the only options. Your father would want you safe." "My father is dead because he underestimated the Morettis. I won't make the same mistake." Mia stood up, her fear transformed into something cold and purposeful. "How many exits does the Steiner have?" "Front, back, and kitchen," Betty whimpered from her hiding spot behind the refrigerator. "They'll be covering all three," Mia said, her tactical training flooding back. "But they're not expecting us to be organized. They think we're pinned down and panicking." "What's the plan?" Rex asked. He was testing her, Mia realized, seeing if the girl was really her father's daughter. Mia pointed at 3 of the bikers. "You 3 take the back exit, make noise, make them think that's where we're running, draw their fire." She pointed at 2 more. "You 2, kitchen exit, stay low, move fast. When they redirect to the back, you flank from the side." "And us?" Rex asked. Mia smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We go out the front door, right into their faces." It was a crazy plan, a suicidal plan, but Rex's weathered face split into a grin. "Your father's daughter indeed." The bikers moved into position. Dale and the other regulars stayed hidden, probably praying to every god they could think of. Betty was crying quietly, but Mia couldn't think about the collateral damage. Not now. "On 3, Mia said, her voice steady. The Beretta felt right in her hand, like it had been waiting 3 months for her to pick it up again. 1. The back door burst open. The 3 bikers charged out, yelling and firing into the night. 2. Automatic gunfire erupted from the Moretti soldiers as they redirected their attention to the back of the diner. 3. Mia kicked open the front door and came out shooting. The 2 Moretti soldiers stationed at the front entrance never saw it coming. They were focused on the rear assault, their weapons pointed away from the door. Mia's first 2 shots took down the closer one, center mass, just like her father had taught her when she was 14. The second soldier spun around, bringing his rifle to bear, but Rex was already there, his massive revolver thundering like a cannon. The parking lot became a war zone. Muzzle flashes lit up the night. The 2 SUVs sat empty, their doors hanging open, engines still running. The Moretti crew had expected to easily overwhelm a few bikers and a terrified girl. They hadn't expected a coordinated counterattack. Mia moved like water, flowing from cover to cover. The muscle memory was all there. Her father's brutal training had been thorough, even if she'd hated every second of it. She put down another Moretti soldier who was trying to flank Rex. The bikers fought with the ferocity of men who had something to prove, laying down covering fire that forced the attackers back. And then, as quickly as it had started, it was over. The surviving Moretti soldiers retreated to their SUVs and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving their dead behind. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the cops. Rex's bikers quickly policed their brass, gathering spent shell casings with practiced efficiency. "We need to move," Rex said, already heading towards the motorcycles parked behind the diner. "Cops will be here in 3 minutes." Mia looked back at the Pine Ridge diner. Through the shattered windows, she could see Dale Hutchins still hiding under his table, Betty clutching her phone, the other regulars emerging from their hiding spots with shocked expressions. 3 months. 3 months of peace, of normalcy, of pretending she was someone else. It was over now. "Let's go," she said, and climbed onto the back of Rex's motorcycle. This story is getting intense. What do you think Mia should do next? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video if you're hooked. They rode through the night, leaving Pine Ridge and its shattered illusions behind. The convoy of motorcycles roared through empty highways and forgotten backroads, putting distance between themselves and the crime scene. Mia held on to Rex's leather jacket, her mind racing faster than the bike beneath her. She'd killed 2 men tonight, maybe 3. The old Mia, the waitress, the nobody, would have been horrified, but Mia Ricci understood that those men had come to kill her first. It was them or her, and she'd chosen herself. just like her father had always taught her. They pulled off the highway 2 hours later into a rest stop that looked abandoned. The bikers parked in the shadows, away from the few working streetlights. Rex killed the engine and helped Mia off the bike. "Everyone okay?" Rex called out to his men. A chorus of affirmatives came back. One biker, a wiry man with a shaved head and a scarred cheek, had taken a graze to his shoulder, but it was nothing serious. They'd all survived. "We can't keep running," Mia said. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, replaced by exhaustion and a growing anger. "Moretti will keep sending people. He won't stop until I'm dead." "Your father had a safe house," Rex said. 3 hours from here. We can lay low, regroup, figure out our next move." "Laying low is what got me into this mess," Mia paced back and forth, her boots crunching on broken asphalt. "I ran from my father's world, and look where it got me. Hiding in a diner, serving coffee to people who treated me like trash, waiting for the inevitable." "What are you saying?" Rex asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. Mia stopped pacing and looked at the 12 bikers who had risked their lives for her, men who had been loyal to her father, who now transferred that loyalty to her, men who believed in the old codes of honor that her father had lived by. "I'm saying we stop running," Mia declared. "I'm saying we take the fight to Moretti. I'm saying I become what my father wanted me to be." "The Queen," one of the bikers said, and there was reverence in his voice. Mia nodded. The Queen. Rex studied her for a long moment, then he knelt on one knee, his massive frame somehow graceful in submission. One by one, the other bikers followed suit, until all 12 were kneeling before her in the shadows of the rest stop. "We are yours to command. Blood for blood, honor for honor." Mia felt something shift inside her. The scared girl was gone. The quiet waitress was gone. What remained was sharp and dangerous and absolutely certain. "Then let's go to war," she said. The safe house was exactly what Mia expected, a rundown warehouse and an industrial district that had seen better days. But inside, it was a fortress. Her father had been paranoid, and that paranoia led him to prepare for every contingency. The warehouse was stockpiled with weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and enough non-perishable food to last months. There was also something else. In a locked room in the back, Rex showed Mia her father's legacy. Files. Decades worth of files on every family, every crew, every soldier in the region. Her father had been meticulous, documenting deals, betrayals, alliances, and weaknesses. It was a roadmap of the criminal underworld, and now it belonged to Mia. "He was building this for you," Rex said quietly. "He knew that someday you might need it." Mia ran her fingers over the files, feeling the weight of her father's expectations. He tried to make her into his successor, but she'd fought him every step of the way. She wanted a normal life, a safe life. She'd been naive. "What about Moretti?" she asked, pulling out the thickest file. Rex settled into a chair, his expression grim. "Vincent Moretti, 52 years old. He took over his father's crew 15 years ago and has been expanding ever since. Ruthless, but smart. He doesn't make the same mistake twice. He killed my father." "Yes, but it wasn't personal. Your father had territory Moretti wanted. The war between your families was about business. And killing me? Is that business too?" Rex hesitated. "No, that's personal. Your father humiliated Moretti once, publicly. This isn't just about territory anymore. Moretti wants revenge, and he wants to erase the Ricci name completely." Mia opened the file and studied Moretti's photo. He looked ordinary, graying hair, average build, the kind of face you'd forget in a crowd, but she could see the calculation in his eyes. This was a man who played the long game. "What are his weaknesses?" she asked. "His family. He has a wife and 2 daughters. He keeps them out of the business, protected." "No," Mia said immediately. "We don't touch civilians. We don't touch family that isn't involved. That's a line I won't cross." Rex nodded, looking relieved. "Your father would have said the same thing." "What else?" "Pride. Moretti's pride is his biggest weakness. He's built his reputation on being untouchable, on being smarter than everyone else. If you can hurt his reputation, you hurt him." Mia smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. then that's what we'll do. Over the next 3 days, Mia immersed herself in her father's world. She studied the files, memorized faces and names, learned the complex web of alliances and grudges that made up the criminal underworld. Rex and his men trained her, reminding her body of skills she'd tried to forget. The warehouse had been converted into a makeshift training facility. One morning, Rex woke Mia up at 5 a.m. with a cup of black coffee and a training schedule that would have made a Navy SEAL wince. "We start with conditioning," Rex announced. "Your father trained you young, but you've been soft for 3 months. We need to rebuild your edge." Mia groaned, but followed him to the open space they'd cleared. For the next 2 hours, she ran sprints, did bodyweight exercises, and sparred with the bikers. Each one went easy on her at first until she snapped at them. "Stop treating me like I'm fragile. My father didn't raise a princess. He raised a weapon, so treat me like one." After that, they didn't hold back. Mia took hits, learned from mistakes, and slowly began to remember the lethal grace her father had drilled in her. By the end of the first day, she was covered in bruises. By the end of the third day, she was giving as good as she got. One afternoon, a biker named Tommy, the youngest of the crew, sat with Mia during a water break. He was the one who asked, "What now?" after they'd escaped the warehouse assault. "Can I ask you something?" Tommy said, nervously. "Go ahead." "Why did you run? After your father died, you had resources, connections, protection. You could have taken over then. Why wait 3 months hiding in a diner, serving coffee to people who treated me like trash, waiting for the inevitable?" Mia took a long drink of water, considering her answer. "Because I was scared. Not of Moretti or the violence. I was scared of becoming my father." "Your father was a great man," Tommy said quickly. "Everyone says so."
He was also a terrible man. He built an empire on fear. He hurt people, destroyed families, corrupted officials. Yes, he had a code. He didn't hurt innocents, didn't traffic drugs near schools. But that doesn't make him good. That just makes him less evil than others. Tommy frowned. "Then why are you doing this? Why become what you hated?" "Because running away doesn't change anything. Moretti is worse than my father ever was. If I don't stop him, he'll expand, hurt more people, break more families. Sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is from the inside." "You really believe that? That you can change this world?" Mia smiled sadly. "No, but I have to try anyway, because the alternative is giving up, and that's not who I am." Tommy nodded, a new respect in his eyes. "For what it's worth, I think your father would be proud. Not because you're like him, but because you're better than him." That evening, Rex called a meeting. All 12 bikers gathered around a table covered in maps, photos, and intelligence reports. Mia stood at the head, feeling the weight of their expectations. "I need to know something before we go further," Mia said. "Rex told me you were hired by my father to protect me, but he's dead. Your obligation ended with him. So why are you still here? Why risk your lives for me?" The bikers exchanged glances. Finally, an older man named Marcus spoke up. He had gray in his beard and scars that told stories of decades in this life. "Your father saved my life once," Marcus said. 20 years ago, I was nobody, a street punk dealing dime bags and making stupid mistakes. I crossed the wrong people, and they put a contract on me. Your father found out, canceled the contract, and gave me a choice: keep being stupid and die young, or join his crew and learn discipline. I chose discipline. He taught me the code, taught me honor, taught me that being a criminal doesn't mean being an animal. When he asked me to look after his daughter, I didn't hesitate. And now that I've met you, I'd follow you even if he'd never asked." One by one, the other bikers told similar stories. Rex had been a homeless veteran until Antonio gave him purpose. Tommy's father had died in Antonio's service, and Antonio paid for Tommy's education. Another biker, a woman named Elena, had been rescued from a human trafficking ring that Antonio personally destroyed. Mia listened, tears streaming down her face. She'd known her father as a distant figure, always busy with business, always preparing her for a future she didn't want. She'd never understood the loyalty he inspired, until now. "Thank you, all of you. I won't let you down." You already haven't. Now let's plan how to take down Moretti. But Mia brought something new to the table. Her father had been old school, relying on brute force and intimidation. Mia was different. She understood technology, social media, the modern tools that her father had never bothered to learn. Moretti runs his operation like it's still 1985. He uses burner phones, face-to-face meetings, cash transactions. He thinks that makes him safe from surveillance. Doesn't it? One of the bikers asked. From the cops, maybe, but not from us. Mia pulled up a map on a laptop. His lieutenants aren't as careful. They use social media, they post photos, they check in at locations. We can track their patterns, predict their movements. Rex leaned forward, impressed. You want to use their own carelessness against them. Exactly. We hit them where they feel safe. We make Moretti look weak, incompetent. We take away his air of invincibility. The first target was a Moretti lieutenant named Carlo Benedetti. According to social media, Carlo liked to brag about his success. He posted photos of expensive cars, designer clothes, nights at exclusive clubs, and helpfully, he tagged his locations. Carlo was halfway through his 24-ounce ribeye when his evening went sideways. The fire alarm went off, shrill and impossible to ignore. Sprinklers activated, drenching everyone in the restaurant. Chaos erupted as wealthy diners scrambled for the exits, their expensive meals ruined. Carlo's bodyguards jumped up, hands moving to their concealed weapons, but there was no visible threat, just a false alarm, or so it seemed. In the confusion, Mia walked right up to Carlo's table. She was wearing a server's uniform, her hair pulled back, a professional smile on her face. She looked like she belonged there. "Mr. Benedetti?" she said sweetly. "The manager asked me to escort you out through the kitchen. We're so sorry for the inconvenience." Carlo, annoyed and wet, stood up. His bodyguards moved to follow, but Mia held up a hand. "Sir, the kitchen is extremely cramped. Your associates should use the main exit. I'll make sure you get out safely." It was a calculated risk. Carlo was arrogant enough to think no one would dare attack him in a public place, and the sprinklers had everyone too focused on getting out to pay attention to a mobster and her server. The bodyguards hesitated, looked at Carlo, who waved them off dismissively. "Fine, fine, just get me out of here." Mia led Carlo through the kitchen, past confused cooks and dishwashers, but instead of heading for the emergency exit, she guided him into the walk-in freezer. Carlo, realizing too late that something was wrong, reached for his gun. Mia already had hers out. "Don't," she said calmly. "You won't clear leather before I put 2 in your chest." Carlo froze. He looked at Mia's face, really looked, and recognition dawned. You're the Ricci girl." "I prefer Queen. Now you're going to do exactly what I tell you, or this freezer becomes your tomb." In the freezer, Mia kept her gun trained on Carlo, using her other hand to snap photos with her phone. The cold air created visible clouds with each breath, but neither of them shivered. The tension was too high for that. "You know who I am?" Mia asked. Carlo nodded slowly, his hands raised. "Everyone knows about Antonio Ricci's daughter. Word spread after the diner attack." "Good. Then you know I'm not playing games. I could kill you right now. Your bodyguards would never find your body. This freezer runs all night, and by morning you'd be frozen solid, easy to dispose of."
"Please," Carlo whispered. "I have a family, kids." "So did my father. Moretti didn't care about that." Mia lowered the gun slightly. "But I'm not Moretti, and I'm not my father. I don't kill for pleasure. I kill when necessary." "What do you want?" "Information. How many soldiers does Moretti really have? Not the inflated numbers he tells everyone, the real count." Carlo hesitated. Giving up that information was betrayal, but the alternative was a bullet. 32, he said finally. He lost 8 in the diner attack. The rest, some are loyal, some are just collecting paychecks. And his operations? What makes him money? Protection rackets, mostly. Some gambling. He stays away from drugs after his nephew overdosed. Says it's a dirty business. Mia filed this information away. Moretti had principles. Twisted as they were, that was both a weakness and a strength.
One more question. Does Moretti have any law enforcement on his payroll? Carlo's silence was answer enough. Names, Mia demanded. Detective Harris from the 4th Precinct, Captain Mendoza from Vice. They've been on the payroll for years. Mia smiled grimly. Thank you for your cooperation, Carlo. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of here. You're going to tell your bodyguards that it was just a false alarm. You're not going to mention this conversation to anyone, especially not Moretti. And if I do tell him, then everyone will see these photos. Everyone will know that Carlo Benedetti, Moretti's feared lieutenant, wet himself in a restaurant freezer while a 23-year-old girl held a gun to his head. Your reputation will be destroyed. Moretti might even kill you for the embarrassment. Your choice. Carlo's face flushed with anger and shame, but he nodded. You're making a mistake. Moretti will find out eventually. I'm counting on it, but by then, I'll be ready. Mia stepped aside, gesturing toward the door. Go. And, Carlo, next time we meet, it won't be in a freezer. It'll be on a battlefield. Choose your side wisely. 5 minutes later, Carlo walked out of the restaurant's emergency exit, soaking wet and shaking. His bodyguards rushed over, confused and angry. Boss, what happened? We heard you were in the freezer. Carlo's mind raced. He could tell them the truth, that he'd been held at gunpoint, interrogated, humiliated, but that would destroy everything he'd built, his reputation, his standing with Moretti, everything. So Carlo lied. False alarm. Some idiot server pulled the fire alarm as a prank. The manager asked me to check the freezer for, I don't know, inventory or something. Waste of my time. Let's get out of here. The bodyguards accepted this explanation, though they exchanged skeptical glances. They knew their boss was shaken, but they also knew better than to question him. As they drove away in Carlo's BMW, the lieutenant's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it with trembling fingers and went pale. It was a photo of him in the freezer, gun at his head, abject fear in his eyes. Below the photo, a message. The Queen sends her regards. Next time, we won't be so merciful. P.S. I hope you enjoyed your ribeye. Boss, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost, one of the bodyguards said from the front seat. Carlo deleted the message immediately and pocketed his phone. I'm fine, just tired. Take me home. But Carlo wasn't fine. As the city lights blurred past the window, he realized he was trapped. Tell Moretti the truth and look weak, or lie and wonder when the Ricci girl would strike again. Either way, he'd lost something tonight. His dignity, his confidence, his belief that he was untouchable. The Queen had taken it all with just a gun and a camera phone. Mia watched from across the street as Carlo's car disappeared into traffic. Rex appeared beside her, having monitored everything from the restaurant security cameras. Phase 1 complete, Rex said. Phase 1, Mia agreed. Now he has to choose. Tell Moretti the truth and look weak, or wonder when we'll strike again. Either way, we win. Either way, we win. Over the next 2 weeks, Mia orchestrated a campaign of psychological warfare against the Moretti family. It wasn't about body counts or territory. It was about reputation, about perception, about making Vincent Moretti look like a king who couldn't protect his own castle. A gambling operation was raided, not by cops, but by anonymous tips that exposed it to law enforcement. A drug shipment mysteriously disappeared, only to show up donated to a police evidence locker with a note signed, The Queen. Moretti lieutenants found themselves arrested for outstanding warrants that they thought had been taken care of. Mia didn't need to kill anyone. She just needed to make Moretti bleed from 1,000 small cuts. But she knew it couldn't last. Eventually, Moretti would respond. Eventually, this would escalate into something she couldn't control. The response came on a rainy Thursday night. Mia was reviewing intelligence reports in the safe house when Rex burst through the door, his face grim. We have a problem. Mia looked up from the laptop. What kind of problem? Moretti knows where we are. He's sending everyone, 40 men, maybe more. They'll be here within the hour. The room went silent. 12 bikers against 40 trained soldiers in a warehouse with limited exits. The math was brutal. How did he find us? Mia asked, her mind already racing through possibilities.
Carlo talked. We pushed you hard, embarrassed him too much. He gave Moretti everything, where we've been operating from, how many we are, our tactics. Mia cursed. She'd been so focused on the psychological game that she'd underestimated the physical threat. We need to evacuate, now. There's no time, Rex said. They've got the area surrounded. We leave this warehouse, we're sitting ducks. Then we make our stand here. Mia stood up, her father's training kicking in. Everyone, armor up. Check your ammo. Rex, what's our defensive capability? Rex pulled up a blueprint of the warehouse. Main entrance here, loading dock here, roof access here. Windows are reinforced but won't stop bullets. We have good sight lines from the second floor, but they'll have superior numbers. What about weapons?
Your father's stocked us well. Rifles, shotguns, body armor, even some explosives. We can make them pay for every inch. Mia studied the blueprint. 12 against 40. Terrible odds, but not impossible. Not if they were smart. We funnel them, she said, pointing at the main entrance. Set up a kill zone here. Use the shelving units as cover and concealment. Put your best shots on the second floor, raining fire from above. The loading dock, we booby-trap it. Anyone tries to flank us, it gets a nasty surprise. And the roof access? Rex asked. That's our escape route. We hold them off as long as we can, then we exfil through the roof if things go south. The bikers moved with practiced efficiency, transforming the warehouse into a fortress. Mia helped where she could, her hands steady despite the fear churning in her gut. This was it. This was the moment her father had prepared her for, the moment she'd spent 3 months running from. Now there was nowhere left to run. 40 minutes later, the Moretti soldiers arrived. They came in SUVs and vans, surrounding the warehouse in a coordinated assault. Mia watched from his second-floor window, counting vehicles, estimating numbers. Rex had been right, maybe more than 40. This was everything Moretti had. A bullhorn crackled to life. "Mia Ricci, this is Vincent Moretti. You've caused me a great deal of trouble, but I'm a reasonable man. Surrender now, and I promise your death will be quick. Your men can walk away." Mia picked up a megaphone that Rex had prepared. "Mr. Moretti, you killed my father. You've hunted me for months, and now you expect me to believe you'll show mercy? I may be young, but I'm not stupid." There was a pause. Then Moretti's voice came back, colder now. "Then you'll die like your father, screaming." The assault began. The stakes have never been higher. Will Mia survive? Drop your predictions in the comments and hit that like button to support this epic story. The first wave hit the main entrance with battering rams and shotguns, but Mia had anticipated this. The entrance was reinforced, and the narrow doorway created a fatal funnel. Moretti's men poured through, only to be met with withering fire from 3 different angles. Bodies fell. The assault stalled. Mia watched from her second-floor position as the first soldier came through the door. He was young, maybe mid-20s, carrying an assault rifle like he'd seen in movies. Amateur. She put 2 rounds in his chest before he even registered the threat. The second and third soldiers learned from his mistake, using the door frame as cover, but Elena was positioned at an angle that negated their advantage. Her shotgun boomed twice, and 2 more bodies dropped. "They're regrouping," Marcus shouted from his position near the loading dock. "We might have 30 seconds before the next push." "Use it," Mia called back. "Check your ammo, hydrate, breathe. Controlled breaths, controlled shots." Rex appeared beside her, his face grim. "They lost maybe 5 soldiers in that first push. They've got at least 35 more. The math isn't good." "The math is never good," Mia replied, swapping out her magazine. "But they're the ones stepping into our kill zone. Every bullet they waste, every mistake they make, that's one more chance we survive this." But Moretti had numbers on his side. While the first wave kept them pinned down, a second group tried the loading dock. The booby trap, a cleverly rigged explosive linked to the door mechanism, detonated with a thunderous roar, sending soldiers flying and turning the loading area into an inferno. The explosion shook the entire warehouse. Dust rained down from the rafters, and for a moment,
Everything went silent. Then the screaming started. "Loading dock is compromised," Marcus reported. "The explosion took out 6, maybe 7 of them, but it also blew out our defensive position. They can flank us now." Mia cursed. The trap had worked better than expected, but it had also eliminated their defensive advantage on that side. "Elena, Tommy, Marcus, reposition to cover the loading dock breach. Don't let them through." Still they came. Mia fired from her second-floor position, each shot carefully aimed, each bullet finding its mark. She'd become someone she didn't recognize. Cold, efficient, lethal. The bikers fought with savage determination, knowing that surrender meant death. Through the smoke and chaos, Mia saw movement at the main entrance. A figure was directing the assault. Tall, authoritative, staying back from the front line. Even from this distance, even through the haze of gunpowder and dust, Mia recognized him. Vincent Moretti had come personally. "Rex, Moretti outside, if we can get a clean shot." "He's using his men as shields," Rex replied, tracking the target through his rifle scope. "Smart bastard knows we're looking for him. He's staying mobile, staying covered." But the tide was turning. Moretti's men adapted, using suppression fire to pin down the defenders while others advanced. One of Rex's bikers, a man named Dante, took a bullet to the leg and went down screaming. "Man down," Elena yelled. "Dante's hit." Mia saw Dante writhing on the ground, blood pooling beneath him. Tommy crawled over, dragging the injured man behind cover while bullets chewed up the concrete. "How bad?" Mia called down. "Femoral," Tommy shouted back, his hands already applying pressure to the wound. "He'll bleed out if we don't get him help." Another burst of firework, and Marcus cried out. He'd taken a round to the shoulder, his rifle clattering to the ground. Blood soaked through his leather jacket. "We can't hold," Rex shouted over the gunfire. "We need to exfil, now." Mia looked at the battlefield below. They'd taken down maybe 15 of Moretti's men, but there were still too many. Rex was right. Staying meant dying. "Cover me," she said, and sprinted for the roof access. The bikers laid down covering fire, buying precious seconds. Mia burst through the roof door, scanning for the escape route her father had planned. There, a fire escape on the next building, close enough to reach if she was brave enough to jump. She was. One by one, the bikers followed, making the terrifying leap from one rooftop to another. The wounded were helped across. Rex went last, turning to fire one more burst before disappearing into the night. By the time Moretti's men reached the roof, their quarry was gone. They regrouped in an abandoned subway station, catching their breath and treating the wounded. Mia did a head count. All 12 bikers had survived, though 3 were injured. Against 40 men, they'd lived to fight another day. But the warehouse was lost. Her father's files, the weapons cache, the sanctuary, all gone. Dante lay on a makeshift stretcher, his face pale from blood loss. Tommy had managed to stabilize him with a tourniquet and emergency first aid, but he needed real medical attention.
"We can't take him to a hospital," Marcus said, wincing as Alina bandaged his shoulder. "They'll report gunshot wounds to the police, and the police report to Moretti." "I know someone," Mia said. "My father had a doctor on retainer, Dr. Sarah Chen. She ran a clinic in Chinatown, did work for the family. If she's still there, she'll help us." "And if she's not?" Rex asked. "Then Dante dies, and we figure out another way." Mia pulled out her phone and dialed a number from memory. It rang 4 times before a woman answered. "Chen Medical Clinic?" "Dr. Chen, it's Mia Ricci." Silence on the other end. Then, "I heard you were dead." "I heard the same about you. Seems we're both hard to kill. I need your help. I have a man with a femoral wound. He needs surgery, and I can't take him to a hospital. I got out of that life when your father died. I don't do underground medical work anymore. Please, he's going to die if you don't help. And doctor, he's not a criminal. He's just a kid who made a choice to protect me. Don't let him pay for my sins." Another long pause. Then Dr. Chen sighed. "Bring him to the clinic. Back entrance. And Maria, this is the last time. After tonight, we're even." "Thank you." They moved Dante through the pre-dawn streets, using back alleys and side routes to avoid attention. The clinic was a small storefront wedged between a dumpling restaurant and a grocery store. True to her word, Dr. Chen was waiting at the back entrance. She was in her 50s, with gray-streaked black hair and the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen everything. She took one look at Dante and immediately went into professional mode. "Get him on the table. You," she pointed at Tommy, "scrub up and assist. The rest of you, wait outside. And Maria, we need to talk." While Dr. Chen worked on Dante, Mia and Rex waited in a small office cluttered with medical journals and family photos. Mia studied the pictures, Dr. Chen with her husband, with her children, living the normal life that Mia had once dreamed of. "You're wondering why she helped us," Rex said. "I know why. My father helped her once, probably saved her clinic from some protection racket or competitor. She owes the family." "Is that how you see the world now? Everyone's either useful or they owe you something?" Mia looked at Rex sharply. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're changing. 3 months ago, you were serving coffee and trying to be nobody. Now you're planning military operations and manipulating mob bosses. I'm just wondering, is this who you want to be, or is this who you think you have to be?" Mia started to snap back, but the question stopped her. Was this who she wanted to be? The cold strategist, the tactical genius, the woman who could watch men die and immediately start calculating the next move? "I don't know," she admitted, "but I know who I don't want to be. I don't want to be the scared girl in the diner, letting people walk all over me. I don't want to be helpless." "There's a difference between being helpless and being ruthless. Your father never learned that difference." "Then I'll learn it. I'll be different." Mia stood up and looked Rex in the eye. "I promise you, I won't become my father, but I also won't let Moretti win. There has to be a middle ground." Before Rex could respond, Dr. Chen emerged from the surgery room, wiping blood from her hands. "He'll live." The bullet missed the artery by millimeters. Another few minutes and he would have bled out. He needs rest, antibiotics, and time to heal. No physical activity for at least 2 weeks. Mia sagged with relief. "Thank you, doctor." "What do I owe you?" "Nothing. As I said, we're even now." Dr. Chen fixed Mia with a stern look. "But I want to tell you something. Your father was a complicated man. He did terrible things, but he also helped people like me when no one else would. You have his intelligence, his strategic mind, but I see something in you he never had." "What's that?" "Conscience. Antonio did what was necessary without regret. You question every decision, every cost. That's both your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. Don't lose it, but don't let it paralyze you either." They left the clinic as dawn broke over the city. Dante was stable but couldn't travel, so Dr. Chen agreed to keep him for a few days. The rest of the crew needed a new safe house, new supplies, and a new plan. "What now?" one of the bikers asked. He was barely 20, and the fear in his eyes reminded Mia of herself just months ago. Mia looked at her assembled crew, bloodied, exhausted, but still loyal. They'd followed her into hell and back. They deserved better than to keep running. "Now we go after Moretti directly. No more games, no more hide and seek. We end this." "He'll be expecting that," Rex warned. "After tonight, he'll be on high alert." "Good. Let him be alert. Let him be scared, because I'm done being the hunted." Mia's eyes blazed with determination. It's time for the queen to take her throne. Vincent Moretti stood in the ruins of the warehouse, surveying the damage. 15 of his best men were dead or wounded. The girl, the Ricci girl, had escaped. Again. His phone rang. He answered, his voice clipped. "What?" "Sir, we have a problem." It was his head of security, a former police detective named Marcus. "Someone leaked tonight's operation to the FBI. They're asking questions." Moretti's jaw clenched. "Who leaked it?" "We don't know, but the leak came with documentation, financial records, communications, everything. Someone's been building a case against us." The Ricci girl. It had to be. She'd been one step ahead this entire time, not just fighting with bullets, but with information.
Moretti had underestimated her, treated her like a frightened child rather than her father's daughter. That was a mistake he wouldn't make again. "Bring everyone in," Moretti ordered. "Every soldier, every associate. I want total lockdown, and I want that girl found. I don't care what it takes." But even as he gave the orders, Vincent Moretti felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. Mia spent the next 72 hours planning the impossible. She couldn't match Moretti's numbers, couldn't outgun his organization, but she had something he didn't: the element of surprise and a willingness to do what others thought was crazy. She was going to challenge Moretti to a sit-down, a meeting, face-to-face with witnesses. "You're insane," Rex said when she explained the plan. "He'll kill you the second you walk through the door." Maybe. But he's losing face. His men are scared. The FBI is circling. He needs to prove he's still in control. And the only way to do that is to meet me on neutral ground, with witnesses.
What witnesses? Mia smiled. Every family in the region. I'm going to call a council, the first one since my father died, and I'm going to demand that Moretti answer for his crimes against the Ricci family. The council was an old tradition, rarely invoked. It was a gathering of the major criminal families, a way to settle disputes without outlaw war. Antonio Ricci had called one only twice in his entire life. Now, his daughter was invoking the tradition, gambling that the other families would recognize her claim. The messages went out, carried by intermediaries who operated in the gray areas between the families. To everyone's surprise, the other families agreed. They were curious about Antonio Ricci's daughter, and they were concerned about Moretti's growing power. The council would meet in 3 days at a neutral location, an old church that had been used for such meetings for generations. Moretti had no choice but to attend. To refuse would make him look weak. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Will Mia's bold plan work? Subscribe now so you don't miss the epic conclusion, and let us know in the comments, would you take this risk? The night of the council, Mia dressed in black. Not a mourning dress, but combat-ready clothing that still looked formal enough for the occasion. She strapped a knife to her thigh and concealed a small pistol in a shoulder holster. The rules of the council forbade violence within the church, but rules were often broken. Rex and 4 of his bikers accompanied her. The other 7 stayed behind, ready to respond if things went wrong. They were her insurance policy. The church was old, Gothic, its stone walls thick enough to muffle screams. Candles provided the only light, casting dancing shadows that made the gathered families look like specters. 5 families had sent representatives: the Castellanos, who controlled the ports, the Boyds, who ran protection rackets, the Hugh family, who had a grip on the drug trade, the Sokolovs, Russian immigrants with connections overseas, and the Morettis. Mia entered the church with Rex at her side. Every eye turned to her. She was young, female, untested, everything that this world typically dismissed, but she walked with confidence, her head high, channeling every ounce of her father's authority. Vincent Moretti sat at the head table, flanked by his lieutenants. He was smaller than Mia had imagined, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. When he saw her, something flickered across his face: surprise, respect, and a hint of fear. "Don Castellano," said the eldest of the gathered bosses, "Maria Ricci, you have called this council. State your grievance." Mia stepped forward. "My father, Antonio Ricci, was killed in Vincent Moretti in violation of our agreements. Moretti has since tried to erase the Ricci name, hunting me like an animal, destabilizing our territories. I invoke the right of vendetta and demand satisfaction." The church went silent. Vendetta was serious. It meant a formal blood feud with rules and boundaries. Moretti stood. "Your father died in open conflict. There was no violation. As for you, you abandoned your family, disappeared. A dog without a master can't claim vendetta." "I didn't abandon," Mia said coldly. "I was grieving, and now I've returned to claim what's mine. The question is, will the council recognize my claim?" Don Castellano looked around the table. "Does anyone dispute that Maria Ricci is Antonio's rightful heir?" Silence. Even Moretti couldn't deny the bloodline. Then the question is whether Antonio's death violated our agreements. Don Castellano turned to Moretti. Vincent, did you target Antonio outside of territorial disputes? Moretti hesitated. He'd walked into a trap. The Riccis were expanding into our territory. We had to respond. That's not what I asked, Don Castellano said. Was it a territorial dispute or was it personal? Before Moretti could answer, Mia pulled out a folder. I have evidence, communications between Moretti and his lieutenants discussing how to humiliate and destroy the Ricci family. This wasn't business. This was revenge for my father exposing Moretti's money laundering scheme 5 years ago. She distributed copies of the documents to each family. The representatives read in silence, their expressions darkening. Moretti's face went red. Where did you get those? From your own organization? Loyalty is expensive, Mr. Moretti. You should pay your people better. Don Castellano set down the papers. These documents, if genuine, prove that Antonio's death was personal, not business. That violates our agreements. The council recognizes Maria Ricci's claim of vendetta. Moretti stood, abruptly, his chair scraping against stone. This is insane! She's a child playing dress-up in her father's clothes. The Ricci family is finished. The Ricci family, Mia said quietly, has 12 loyal soldiers and the moral authority of this council. You have 40 men and the stain of dishonor. Let the families decide who's finished. She turned to the assembled bosses. I propose a settlement. Moretti withdraws from all former Ricci territories. He pays restitution for my father's death, $10 million to be distributed among Antonio's former associates, and he issues a public apology acknowledging that he violated our codes. Never, Moretti spat. Then we go to war. But not just me against you. The council has witnessed your dishonor. Every family here will know that you can't be trusted, that you'll break agreements when it suits you. How long before one of them becomes your next target? The representatives exchanged glances. Mia had played it perfectly. She'd turned this from a blood feud into a question of systemic stability. If Moretti could violate agreements without consequences, none of them were safe. Don Castellano spoke. Vincent, the council has made its ruling. You have 2 choices. Accept Maria's terms or face vendetta not just from the Riccis, but from all families who value honor over ambition. Moretti looked around the table. He was cornered, and he knew it. Refusing would make him look a pariah. Accepting would cost him territory, money, and reputation. But staying alive meant he could rebuild. Fine, he said through gritted teeth. I accept the terms. Mia didn't smile. She just nodded. The council will oversee the transfer of territories and funds. If you violate these terms, there will be no more negotiations. Moretti turned to leave, his lieutenants following, but at the church door he paused and looked back at Mia. Your father would be proud, he said. It wasn't a compliment. It was a warning. I know, Mia replied. When the church emptied, Mia stood alone in the candlelight with Rex. The weight of what she had accomplished was finally sinking in. She'd gone from hunted orphan to recognized leader in less than a month. What now? Rex asked. Mia looked at the altar, at the religious symbols that her father would have mocked. Antonio Ricci had been a criminal, a killer, a man who built his empire on violence. But he'd also been her father, and he'd tried, in his own twisted way, to prepare her for this world.
Now, she said, we build something different. Not my father's empire, mine. 3 months later, Mia sat in a legitimate office, in a legitimate building, overseeing what had become the Ricci Foundation, a nonprofit that helped former criminals transition to legal employment. It was funded by the restitution from Moretti, and it was staffed by reformed members of her father's organization. But she hadn't gone completely legitimate. The 12 bikers still provided security. The former Ricci territories still operated, but with stricter rules. No drugs near schools, no violence against civilians, no human trafficking. Mia was trying to reform from within,
using her position to make the criminal world slightly less horrible. It was an impossible task, she knew, but then again, Sal was challenging Vincent Moretti with 12 men against 40. Rex knocked on her office door. "Someone here to see you." Mia looked up from her paperwork. "Who?" "Betty, from the Pine Ridge Diner." Mia's eyebrows rose in surprise. She nodded, and Rex showed Betty in. The older woman looked smaller than Mia remembered, more fragile. The attack on the diner had aged her. "Mrs. Betty," Mia said warmly, "please sit down. Can I get you anything?" Betty sat, clutching her purse. "I heard what you did, standing up to that Moretti man, taking back your family's business. I did what I had to do. That's why I came." Betty pulled an envelope from her purse. "Your last paycheck. I know it's not much, but you earned it." Mia took the envelope, touched by the gesture. "How's the diner?" "Rebuilding. Insurance covered some of it. And, well, Dale Hutchins and his buddies have been surprisingly generous. Turns out nearly getting killed makes people more charitable." They shared a small laugh. "I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of all this," Mia said. Betty shook her head. "Don't be. That night showed me something. That quiet girl who served coffee and took abuse from bullies, she was strong the whole time. She was just waiting for the right moment to show it." Mia felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you. You take care of yourself, Maria. Or Mia, whoever you decide to be." Betty stood up to leave. "Wait," Mia said. She pulled out her checkbook and wrote a substantial sum, enough to fully rebuild the diner and then some, "for the trouble I caused." Betty looked at the check, her eyes widening. "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. You gave me a job when I needed one. You gave me a place to belong, even if it was just for 3 months. This is me paying it forward." After Betty left, Mia returned to her paperwork, but her mind wasn't on the numbers. She was thinking about the journey from the Pine Ridge Diner to this office, from hiding behind a waitress uniform to sitting at the head of a criminal organization. Her father would have wanted her to be ruthless, to rule through fear, but Mia was determined to be different. She'd seen what that world did to people, what it had done to her father, what it had almost done to her. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she'd been avoiding. It rang 3 times before a woman answered. "FBI tip line, how can I help you?" "I have information on organized crime in the region, and I want to make a deal." It was a dangerous play. Some would call it betrayal. But Mia was playing a longer game. She would help the FBI take down the worst offenders, the human traffickers, the drug dealers who targeted kids, the loan sharks who destroyed families. In exchange, she'd get immunity and the space to reform what remained. It would take years. Some of the families would never forgive her, but Mia had learned something important in that diner, hiding from her past. Running away didn't solve anything. The only way out was through. 6 months after the council meeting, Dale Hutchins walked into the rebuilt Pine Ridge Diner, the same bluster in his step. Betty was working the counter, and the new waitress, a college student named Sarah, was taking orders. Dale sat at his usual booth and started to complain about his coffee being cold. But before he could work up to his usual bullying, Betty walked over and set down a newspaper in front of him. The headline read, "Local organized crime figure cooperates with FBI. Multiple arrests expected." There was a photo of Mia Ricci looking confident and determined. "That's her," Betty said. "That quiet girl who used to mock, the one you threw a plate at. Turns out she was a queen the whole time." Dale went pale. He looked at the newspaper, then at Betty, then at his coffee. "The coffee is fine," he said quietly. Betty smiled. Yes, it is." Mia stood in her office looking out over the city. Rex was beside her, reviewing security reports. The FBI deal was moving forward. Several major arrests had been made. The criminal underworld was in chaos, but it was a controlled chaos. And Mia? She was finally becoming the person she was meant to be. Not her father's daughter, not a scared orphan, not a hunted girl. The queen. Do you think they'll come for you, the families who don't like what you're doing? Rex asked. Mia shrugged. Probably, but I've faced worse. I survived Moretti. I survived my father's death. I survived 3 months of slinging coffee to people who treated me like dirt. She turned from the window, a smile on her face. It was a real smile this time, not the mask she had wielded in the council meeting or the mask she had worn at the diner. Whatever comes next, I'll handle it, because that's what queens do. What an incredible journey! From a mocked waitress to a powerful queen, Mia proved that strength comes in many forms. If you loved this story, please hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments what you thought of Mia's transformation. Would you have had the courage to do what she did? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next amazing story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.